Some of you watching this right now have had a moment where you didn't like your child. We're not talking love. Of course you love them, but that's not the question. I'm talking about something very different. You didn't like them in that moment. Maybe it was something they said. Maybe it was how they acted. Maybe it was the fifth time you had to repeat yourself. And for a split second, you felt irritation, distance, even resentment. And almost immediately after that moment, guilt hit you. Why would I feel that way about my own child? What kind of parents thinks like that? Something must be wrong with me. Dear parent, let's talk about that. Let me say this right off the riff, and I'm going to make myself very clear. Having moments where you don't like your child does not make you a bad parent. It makes you a human being in a relationship. Because think about it, that's what parenting is. It is a relationship. And here's an important distinction. Most parents, even myself, we were never taught this, right? Loving your child is constant, but liking your child is moment to moment. Because love is your commitment. Love is your bond. Love is what keeps you showing up, right? But liking, you see, liking is influenced by what's happening in real time. So their behavior, your energy, the environment, your capacity in that moment. So when you don't like your child in a moment, always know that it's not a reflection of your love. It's more of a reflection of your current experience. Because love is the bond, but liking is often connected to the moment you are actually in. And let's be real, sometimes the moment is loud. Sometimes the moment is disrespectful. Sometimes the moment is draining, right? Sometimes the moment touches a part of you that is already tired, already overstimulated, already carrying too much. And so when your child is whining and arguing, defying, melting down, pushing back, or needing more than you feel like you have left to give, you may not feel warm and connected in that second. But that does not mean you stopped loving them, though. It just means you're having a human reaction to a hard parenting moment. And I need you, dear parent, to hear this clearly. You can love your child deeply and still not enjoy the version of them that is showing up at that moment. You can be committed to them and still feel frustrated by them. You can be a good parent and still need a moment to breathe before you re-engage. It is okay. Think about that. And the moment in which you don't like them, when we have those moments and then it passes, the guilt. You see, the guilt stays. But here's why it stays, though, dear parent. Because your brain doesn't just register the moment, it actually evaluates it. So it'll ask things like, what does this say about me? What kind of parent feels this way? Is this a sign that something is wrong? And because you don't have a framework for understanding the feeling, most of us weren't taught that framework. What ends up happening to us is that our brain then fills in the gap with judgment. And it's that judgment that gets louder and louder. What kind of parent feels that way? Something must be wrong with me. Good parents don't think like this. I must be failing. I must be damaging my child. But listen to me carefully. The feeling is not the same thing as your character, though. The feeling is information, okay? And the judgment is the shame story your brain creates when it does not know what else to do with that information. Because when a parent feels frustration, resentment, irritation, or emotional distance from their child, and nobody has ever told them that those feelings can coexist inside love, our brains panic because we're trying to make meaning, right? And without a healthy framework, it turns that feeling into an identity. I feel overwhelmed because I'm a bad parent. I don't like this moment becomes I don't love my child enough. I need space becomes I'm selfish. And that's the trap, dear parent. You are not supposed to judge every hard feeling that you have. You are supposed to understand it, regulate it, and respond from it with care so that it does not become your identity. Because once it becomes your identity, it will be harder for you to let it go. And that's why sometimes when you think about it, that's why you replay those moments. That's why it lingers. That's why it feels heavier than it actually was. You know what I'm talking about. So let's slow this down so we can all better understand this. Because this is not about your child being unlikable. This is about your emotional capacity in that moment. Emotional capacity is the amount of emotional weight you can carry in a moment before your nervous system starts to feel overwhelmed. It's not your love. It has nothing to do with love. And it's not even about your commitment. Heck, it's not even about your character. It is your current bandwidth. And let's be honest, y'all, every parent has limits. Come on now. Folks, you can love your child deeply and still have a low emotional capacity at the end of a long day. You could be devoted to your child and still feel irritated when you are exhausted, overstimulated, stressed, touched out, worried, or carrying too much. You see, that is why sometimes it feels like don't like your child in that moment, that liking part. It may not be because your child is bad, if you think about it. It may not be because you are bad. It may be because you are emotionally at your max. And when parents don't understand capacity, they often turn exhaustion into shame. They say things like, why am I so annoyed? What is wrong with me? Why can't I handle this? The question may not be, do I love my child, folks? The question may be, how much emotional room do I have right now? Because when capacity is low, everything feels louder, heavier, and harder. I know it does for me. So when you have reached your emotional capacity in that moment as a parent, keep these three things in mind, please. Number one, you are overstimulated. Noise, repetition, demands. Two, your nervous system is overloaded. And three, you are depleted. You've been giving all day. And also, there's less emotional bandwidth left when you think about all three of those things happening in that moment. You are not being met. And this is the part that people don't say. Parenting is often one directional. Think about it. You are giving attention, patience, regulation, and not always receiving that back in a way that refills you, right? It's okay to acknowledge that. But what happens in those moments? Your brain tries to create space, and it does that by pulling back emotionally. And this part right here, most people have never been told this. Because when your system is overwhelmed, it will create distance to protect you. And that distance can feel like disconnection, irritation, hell, emotional withdrawal, or even, I don't like this right now. But because you or I never been taught how to interpret that signal, what do? You personalize it. So instead of, hey, my system is overwhelmed right now. It becomes something is wrong with how I feel about my child. But let me give you an emotional truth right now. Come on. You don't dislike your child. You dislike how you feel in that moment. And that is important. Let it sit. In fact, I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. You don't dislike your child. You dislike how you feel in that moment. That's a major distinction. Because that moment is information. Some of you guys are like, well, what kind of information can I get from that? It's telling you, I'm overstimulated. I'm depleted. I need space. This is too much right now. You see, that feeling is not asking you to judge yourself in that moment. It's actually asking you to understand yourself, dear parent. Because when you understand what's happening internally, you respond differently externally. When you don't understand your internal world, you usually react to your child as if your child is the entire problem, right? So you think, man, their ass is just being difficult right now, or they're trying to test me. They don't listen. They are too much right now. But when you pause long enough to notice what is happening inside of you, dear parent, the story changes. You actually may realize, man, I'm overstimulated. Sheesh, I'm exhausted. I feel so disrespected. I feel powerless. This moment is reminding me of how I was treated growing up. My emotional capacity is gone. Because that awareness, because naming what's happening inside will give you more choices outside. What I mean is, instead of yelling, you may pause. Instead of shaming yourself, you may soften in the moment. Instead of taking the behavior personally, you may get curious. Instead of saying, what is wrong with you? You may ask, what is happening here? This does not mean you excuse disrespect. Please know that. Let's be real. It does not mean you ignore their bad behavior. It means you stop parenting from an automatic reaction and you start parenting from awareness. Because the more you understand yourself in these moments, dear parent, the less your child has to carry the weight of your unprocessed emotion. That is not perfect parenting. That is conscious repair. That is growth. Top of form, bottom of form. And so always know that. And so let me give you something most parents have never been told. Okay? You are allowed to have complex feelings as a parent. You can love your child deeply and feel frustrated by them. You can be committed to them every day, all day, but also need space from them. You can also care about them so much and also not enjoy every moment with them. You see, those things can exist at the same time. I say that to my clients all the time, and it doesn't make you inconsistent. So you see, dear parent, the goal is not to pretend those complex feelings are not there. No, the goal is to notice them without letting shame take over. So when a complex feeling shows up, pause, name it. I love my child and I am overwhelmed. I am committed to my family and I need a break. I care deeply and I do not like this moment. You see, naming the feeling helps your nervous system slow down. And then I want you to ask yourself, what does this feeling need from me? Maybe you need rest. Maybe you need emotional support. Maybe you need to step away. Or maybe you need to repair. Maybe you need to stop judging yourself for being a human being. Because you see, complex feelings are not proof that something is wrong with you, dear parent. Nope. Folks, these are signals. They are information. And they are invitations to respond with awareness instead of you being stuck in shame. Folks, you are not a bad parent because your feelings are complicated. You are a human being. And so we can be very clear here. The next time that feeling shows up, pause. Instead of judging yourself, I need y'all to translate the moment. So not, why do I feel this way about them right now? But I want you to say or ask yourself, what is happening inside of me right now? And then here we go. Respond to that. That's the key. That's how we get through those moments. And so if you've ever had that moment where you didn't like what you felt as a parent, where something showed up in you that didn't match who you want to be as a parent, it's okay. Take a breath. Because that moment, dear parent, it doesn't define your parenting. It reveals your humanity. And when you stop running from that, I promise you, you become more aware, more intentional, more connected, not less. Trust me on that, okay? And so before you go, if you've ever had a moment like this where you didn't like how you felt as a parent, I want you to be honest. Go into the comments section and drop a comment, please. Have you ever had a moment where you felt this, but didn't say it out loud though? Please like this video so another parent who's holding that in can actually find this video. Subscribe to Dear Parent because these are the conversations we're going to keep having. And please don't miss out. Turn on those notifications because the next message might say something about what you've been going through, thinking about, but haven't had the words for. That's why we're here. That's why I created this channel. Dear parent, come on now. You don't have to feel perfect to be a good parent. I just need you to be real, want to be real, because you deserve it. You're not a bad parent. You're a human being. I'll see you guys in the next message.